tough this guy.
Okay. Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Howdy, sir.
Kevin, you didn't hear. So Nick, my stepson, I think you might.
Yeah, I know. What's up?
The assistant coach at KM.
Okay.
That's why I left.
Okay.
He got hit in the face really hard with a baseball bat.
Ouch. Is he okay?
Well, he's going to be okay. I mean, he's going to live.
Right.
But how many teeth are lost? If he's got a skull fracture. The guy, evidently, he wasn't paying attention where he was. He was right in the face.
I know.
I mean,
I saw that coming in.
but that's why I wasn't there.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. He was in getting MRIs and stuff. Oh man, take care of this. Yeah, you will. But you know, how many teeth are gone, you know.
Did he get knocked out? Like, did he go unconscious? Yeah.
What's the floor here for?
I don't know, it's a hot issue, I guess, something or other. I think it's all about the yellow brick road.
It's all about the witch.
That's too bad, right? That's what parents' prerogative there to.
Just told him,
A couple of times that,
Like, I hope they were just thrown all over. I hope they're all facing the right way, Mayor. That's they're all through the
Non-emergency calls.
won the lottery. Did you see that guy that bet $85,000 to Tiger Woods to win?
I heard something
And
about that.
he made 1.2 million
you and me.
I know,
because he needed money quickly, and he just did that thing. And he went to 4 different casinos. They wouldn't take the bet, and finally they took the bet. And
Council meeting to order.
right up there.
Speaker's not on.
Is
That
it not?
is.
Yeah, it is. Oh, okay. Thank you.
Call the council meeting for April 16th to order has been appropriately noticed.
Yes, Your Honor, it has.
This first part of the meeting is the ceremonial part, and then we'll get into business a little bit later. Let's all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Kavieski.
Here.
Alderman Miller.
Here.
Alderman Rozak.
Here.
Alderman Shaw.
Here.
Alderman Ellis.
Here.
Alderman Spiegelberg. Here. Alderman Zwart. Alderman Stray.
It's a pleasure to be here.
You have on here comments from citizens, but that's for the regular meeting. That's not for this meeting.
Unless somebody wanted to say something for Mike.
Okay. There's a couple sections for comments. The ceremonial part is more just for the changing of the alderman. So if anybody has a comment regarding Alderman Miller, if anybody wants to wish him anything, yeah, you're welcome to come up now and say. I shouldn't say anything, but
She would have left years ago.
seeing none, we'll go to reports and comments from Alderman. Go ahead, Mike, or not Mike, Matt.
Matt. Well, Mike, thanks for your years of service. We're obviously district cohorts, and before I ran for office, I remember meeting you at Stone Creek Coffee and just talking about the job, and you've been very helpful. It's been a pleasure sitting next to you for the last 5 years, so thank you.
Any other comments? Go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, I mentioned before, I thought that we already got rid of him about a month ago. But anyway, you know, if you look at him now, and you look at him when he ran the city for a while, when he was acting mayor, 3-piece suits, ties on, and this and that now you look at what he is, but that's the true Mike Miller that I've known for a long time. Thank you for all the time you put in, Mike. Thanks.
Any other comments? Derek?
Thanks, Mike, for all your hard work, and it's been a pleasure being with you here on council. And I did really like the suits when you're acting mayor. It was awesome.
Thanks. Charlie?
Yeah, Mike, I agree. I like the suits too, and I want to thank you for all your years of service.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Go ahead.
I guess I missed the suits part, but just the 9 months past that I've worked with you, I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And I want to thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Get a lot of cash. He came
Go ahead,
in with
Lou.
a different one every week.
Thank you for your service. It takes a lot to step into a role where we get to deal with policy that affects everybody. And for the number of years you did it, and you did it with character and class. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
And I too want to thank you for your leadership. Thank you for just all you've done for the community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Mike, you want to say anything?
I would like to, first off, thank the 3rd District for their support, and I'd like to thank the whole city. I've gotten a lot of emails and letters and texts thanking me, and I appreciate that. I truly want to thank Diane. Stan, you're a great replacement for Bill. I didn't think it was going to work out, but Sarah.
You voted for me.
I know. Betsy, you do a great job in the library. The utilities, we appreciate all the hard work you guys do. Jason, thanks for taking the interrogations from Matt. Appreciate you, do a great job. And I just want to thank everybody and appreciate it.
Okay. Okay, reports and comments from the mayor. I have a few words for Mike. Just a little bit of history. Mike Miller was first elected as alderman in April of 2007. He ran for the vacated seat, District 3. That was when Lindsey Jones moved out of town. Previous to running for alderman, Mike served on the Zoning Board of Appeals, so he's been involved before he was even an alderman. In May of 2009, Mike was appointed by council to serve as council vice president. He served there till 2014. In May of 2015, Mike was appointed to the president and served there until May of 2016. For a period of time, June 1st of 2015 through August 4th, Mike became the interim mayor after Mayor Daley resigned. So Mike's had a little bit of everything throughout his career. He's been serving on different committees, different boards. He's been an all-around great contributor to the city, and we're going to miss him, miss his wisdom, miss his handshakes. I don't think I'll miss his handshakes. He'll almost break my hand. But Mike's been a great person to have in the council, a great person to have in the city, and we're going to miss him, but we wish him luck.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Wonderful.
Gary, I got the longest tenure and the youngest guy in the whole council here now.
Okay, now we will adjourn, sign, die, which basically means that we will be seating the new alderman. So congratulations, Mike.
Thank you.
You're welcome to stay.
Okay, so, I'm up, okay. So next, for the part of our ceremonial council meeting, we are going to swear in, give the oath of office to the newly elected officials. So if I could have Alderman Karen Spiegelberg, Alderman Lou Kavieski, Alderman Kevin Ellis, and our newly elected Alderman Andy Rogers come up to the front here, in front of the podium, please.
Ready? Okay, I'd like to call the regular meeting for April 16th, 2019 to order. Has been appropriately noticed.
Yes, Your Honor, it has.
Roll call, please.
Alderman Kavieski.
Here.
Alderman Rogers.
Here.
Alderman Rozak.
Here.
Alderman Shaw.
Here.
Alderman Ellis.
Here.
Alderman Spiegelberg.
Here.
Alderman Zwart.
Here.
Alderman Stray.
Here.
Okay, first item on the agenda tonight is the public hearing. The public hearing is to amend impact fees. The purpose of the hearing is to hear public comment on the proposed amendment to Chapter 27 Impact Fee Ordinance to increase residential impact fees and commercial and institutional development impact fees for law enforcement and highways and other transportation facilities, decrease law enforcement impact fees and increase highways and other transportation facilities impact fees for industrial development, and repeal the water facilities impact fee. Laura, you gonna do a presentation, or?
I've got Christy here from Trilogy Consulting to go through the presentation, and I will get this on the screen for you, Christy.
All right, thank you.
Okay, there you go.
Okay. Thank you. I'm Christine DeMaster with Trilogy Consulting, and I've been working with city staff over the past few months on an impact fee update for the city's law enforcement, transportation, and water impact fees. And before I get into this, just for those who may not be all that familiar with what impact fees are, I just want to talk a little bit about some of the background behind the city's impact fees. An impact fee is a fee charged to development to pay for capital costs for new or expanded public facilities needed to serve development. So to put it simply, if you have new development in the city or redevelopment or an expansion of an existing business, for example, that creates new demand for public facilities like expanded or new roads or new police station and so on, an impact fee allows the city to recover the cost of providing that additional capacity from the new development that creates that need. And it also allows the city to keep some of those costs from having to be paid for by existing taxpayers in the city. The city implemented a number of impact fees in 2005, and we looked at two of those with this current study. For law enforcement and highways and other transportation facilities, the fees were intended to cover the cost of a new police station, for reconstruction and upgrades of Allen Road, Concord Road, and Redland Road, and then some new road segments, Lake Bluff Drive, Oconomowoc Parkway, an extension to Redland Road, and Thackeray Trail. Another water facilities impact fee was adopted in 2006, and that was imposed in order to pay for a new well, pump house, and reservoir in Pabst Farms. And the city also has impact fees for sanitary sewer facilities and for parks. None of those were the subject of this current impact fee update. So the city has experienced quite a bit of growth over the past 15 or so years, and we do anticipate that to continue. As part of the study, we did a pretty extensive look at history of building permits and impact fee collections, as well as land that's available for development in the future. And so the development projections we're looking at for this study are about 92 new residential dwelling units per year, 163,000 square feet of commercial and institutional churches and so on per year, and 12,458 on average of industrial development per year. And those numbers are, to put them in context, they are a little bit less than what you've experienced since 2005, between 2005 and 2018. The city did grow faster than the numbers you're looking at up on screen right now, adding about 30% new population, and during that time also increased the miles of streets in the city by about 50%. So just to touch real quickly on what the proposed fees will be paying for. You've been collecting the law enforcement facilities impact fees since 2005. Some of those dollars were used to provide for some temporary interim police department space in Fire Station number 2. But the majority of these fees will be used to pay for a portion of the new police station. So that new station will be paid for partly by leasing of space in the station for municipal court and information technology purposes. And then about 38% of that cost could be recovered, up to 38%, through impact fees, and the remainder would be an existing, we refer to it as a deficiency share. There's some requirements under impact fee statutes that may require you to look at what portion of public facilities are needed to serve existing development or to replace the existing station in this case, and what's truly the expansion portion related to serving future growth. And that's really the only piece of it that can be recovered through impact fees. So a portion of this station will be recovered through impact fees, and a portion will be coming from other funding sources. For the highways and other transportation facilities, again, we did do a fairly extensive analysis looking at what portion of new roads in the city or extended roads could be paid for with impact fees versus what represents that cost just to provide for existing traffic and existing development in the city. This just lists the road segments that are covered by this new impact fee. For the new extensions of roads, we consider those to be 100% eligible for impact fee recovery. For existing road segments that were going to be reconstructed to a wider capacity, those were partially allocated to existing development, either based on existing traffic as a percentage of future or based on the cost to reconstruct to the current road segment the way it is today. So out of 13 million of road costs, about just under 70% of those could be eligible for recovery through impact fees. For the water facilities impact fee, we recommended getting rid of that water impact fee because the well that is planned for the Pabst Farms area is no longer needed to serve new growth. Water use has declined for your existing customers over the years. There is a need to replace existing wells 1 and 2, but that would not be an impact fee eligible cost. So the bottom line is that with eliminating the water impact fee and with the proposed increases in the other 2 fees, the total fee for a single-family home in the city would increase by $125 per unit. And then this just shows the increases for multifamily developments as well as commercial and industrial developments, and the impact on any individual business would really depend on a combination of water use and square footage of the development. And this just shows the detail on some of the city's water and sewer impact fees. As was shown here, we're proposing to eliminate the water impact fee. The various sewer impact fees would still stay in place and apply depending on where new development would occur in the city. The sewer availability charge applies to all new development. The 2nd Street lift station and the North Interceptor are just to certain limited areas within the city. And then finally, this just shows a comparison of where Oconomowoc compares to other communities in the area in terms of impact fees. You're currently about in the average in the middle of other communities in this area in terms of total fees per single family residence. As I noted, that would only increase by $125 per unit. So you're still very well within the range of what other communities charge for impact fees. So that concludes the overview. If there's any questions.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to open it up for public comment now on impact fees. If anybody has anything to say on what was just talked about, please come forward. Seeing none, we will close the public hearing and move on to the regular part of the meeting. First item is approval of the meeting minutes from March 19th, 2019. We need a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. Now we go to comments and suggestions from citizens. You can comment on anything. I have blue cards here. According to the rules here, comments should be limited to 3 minutes, and try not to duplicate what someone else has said. That way we can get through all the cards and still get to the business we need to do tonight. First person, John Collins.
Good evening. My name is John Collins. I live in Whitman Hills on the corner of Keats Circle and Thackeray Trail, and I know that's a topic this evening. My question isn't so much about whether it will pass or not. I don't think it should, but if it were to, my concern is what the city has planned to guarantee the safety of the families that live in that neighborhood. We also have a really serious drainage problem, and the roads there are in terrible conditions. And I'm just wondering if the city has any plans at all moving forward to deal with the foot traffic that will go to the high school. The back gate to the high school grounds is right on Thackeray Trail, so all the high school students from that neighborhood walk down Thackeray Trail to get there. And with traffic increasing on that road, there's a lot of concern. Thank you.
Thank you. Mike, excuse me, Mike Ganos?
Yes, I was just looking at the fact that there's only one bidder on the Thackeray Trail project, and I don't believe that accepting one bid is a good practice. It's pretty weak.
Okay.
So it's really, if that, in the other part of the meeting where other bidders decline to bid on it, that could be only because, you know, there just needs to be more bidders on that project.
Okay. Thank you. Joy Gaskin?
Good evening. My name is Joy Gaskin. I reside at 741 Thackeray Trail. My concern is also with the safety of the expansion of the Thackeray Trail. Mine comes from probably a different standpoint than a lot of people here. I do have a child that lives with me that will be going to Silver Lake Intermediate next year. And per the state statutes, if you live less than 2 miles from the school, you do not qualify for bus services. If any one of you have, I'm sure you're familiar with Thackeray Trail, there are no sidewalks. And my understanding, which may be incorrect, is that the expansion will go through before the sidewalks are put through. I called the Oconomowoc Bus Transport, and he did go over the state statutes with me, which are very clear as far as the distance compared to the services allowed. And he said once those go through, if parents have concerns, Waukesha County sheriffs will do a safety study. And at that point, if they determine it is not safe for kids to walk, he said, you know, good reason for that is no sidewalks, faster traffic, areas that you may not see a child walking, things like that are what determine whether or not they will say, you know, for safety reasons, we will provide busing. I guess my point is, and I may need to be corrected on this, is I believe that this extension is going to be approved or not approved before there are safety studies done. And for me to say, well, you know, I've got to contact the sheriff or I've got to move that with the county or whoever so my kid can be safe going to school, I feel like that should be determined before this is ever approved. It shouldn't be based on if a kid can walk to school or not. It should be based on, is this safe for anybody to walk, not just a kid to walk to school? So I would appreciate, I don't know if this has happened or not, but I do believe before anything is voted yes or no on this, there needs to be some real strong education. And I think the record needs to show that safety needs to come first in this. There's no pathway that's going to benefit citizens in this town that is worth one life of a child or anyone, you know, that may be at risk. Thank you.
Deppes?
Tom Deppes, 805 Thackeray Trail. My concern, I have a couple concerns, but one of them is destroying the wetlands. My concern is that there's much wildlife that we see up and down our street, and we're seeing more and more. 2 nights ago, we saw 3 deer walking in the snow up along Thackeray Trail. We're seeing photos of fox and deer and so on. And because the DNR approved the permit to destroy the wetlands and extend Thackeray Trail, to me that doesn't mean it's the right thing to do. In fact, as time goes by, the decades go by, it seems that the DNR is less a friend of our natural areas and habitats for wildlife and less a protector of clean water. I know our wetlands does provide a good system for the stormwater that goes down Thackeray Trail and that you all know comes from areas above, like Whitman Hills and so on. So I want to say that it's really not, in my mind, the right thing to do to destroy these habitats. It's not really necessary for our survival to put this extension through, but it may be necessary for the survival of wildlife. I want to add a few more things here, that even if you feel that destroying the wetlands and extending Thackeray Trail is okay, I'm asking that you please do not extend Thackeray Trail through the wetlands until you've reconstructed the new, or reconstructed the existing Thackeray Trail for new storm sewers, roadbed, and sidewalk. If you do the extension first, you'll be creating a very unsafe neighborhood due to the additional traffic that's going to be coming from areas of subdivision off Silver Lake and so on, and the traffic that's going to be created when school starts and goes out. There are many high school students that I see in the morning that walk or bike to school on Thackeray, and they have no other place to walk but on the street. So if you don't do the existing Thackeray Trail first, you're putting lives at risk. And I also want to add that there's many people in the neighborhood that happen to walk up and down Thackeray Trail. And since there isn't that much traffic, I mean, to some people, they think it's very unsafe, but I guess if you're there walking, there isn't that much traffic, it's not too bad. So what I'm saying is it makes more sense to reconstruct existing Thackeray Trail. And also, the reason, another reason is because if you're reconstructing Thackeray Trail after you put the extension in, there's going to be so much traffic going through there. And you're going to have a great deal of traffic to divert around those construction areas. So I'm urging you not to vote okay, not to say yes to the resolution or act tonight to take bids for construction of the extension.
Shirley Deppes.
Hi, Shirley Deppes, 805 Thackeray Trail. Much of the same points. We are dealing with a troubled piece of street that has, it's in a quiet neighborhood. It's, and what you will do if you do the extension is make it a very busy thoroughfare with drainage problems, pedestrian problems, roadbed problems that need to be solved. We have unimproved roadbed that's been there for years, and it gets worse once you hit from my Longfellow on down to the west. That roadbed becomes crumbled and a jigsaw puzzle of asphalt that's going to deteriorate very fast under heavier traffic, buses, trucks, vans, more consistent traffic. You have a new extension being built over wetlands that were used to drain the drainage ditches that barely keep pace with the current weather patterns. Sometimes we will have the road flooded for more than a day, causing cars to hydroplane over them. Becomes very dangerous when you think of kids trying to get to school, and now more traffic and buses trying to get kids to their schools coming through, and no sidewalks. I know that the extension will have a sidewalk, but that does not cover the entire Thackeray Trail. There's quite a few, at least 3 full blocks of non-sidewalk. I'm asking the council to please say no to Thackeray Trail tonight. Any extension approval, I'd like them to say no to. The existing Thackeray Trail needs to be improved. And I know that you have the impact fees to go ahead and do what you want to do. But really, you need to think of the safety of your citizens first. That's prime. We don't want to attend any funerals. Thank you for your time.
Heather Harris.
Hi, I'm Heather Harris. I'm on 992 Keats Circle. Like a lot of my neighbors, I'm against the extension of Thackeray Trail. I'm not going to repeat what you've heard, but I do echo all of their sentiments. I think the thing that I just want to point out is for the last almost year, we have been extremely vocal about this, and I know some of my neighbors have done this in the past, in years past when this has come up, and I guess what I want to encourage you is if this does go through, you know, we want to be at least part of the process, and that's what we're doing here. And I think some of us are just a little frustrated that there isn't other ways for us to be part of the process. So I have emailed and had meetings with some of you, and I certainly appreciate that, but if there's a way to more formally be involved with what's going to come if this is to go through, I think that would go a long way for us to feel like we're being heard a little bit more. I know there may be some rules that I'm not aware of that dictate how all that happens, but I just wanted to throw that idea out there. We respect your decision. We know you have a hard job to do. Again, I'm opposed to it. I hope you vote no, but if it does go through, just let us be involved. Thank you.
Joe Warren.
I'm Joe Warren, 1129 Emerson Drive. I've been here many, many times talking about this issue. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different outcome. Well, this whole process has been an insane exercise. Our city plows ahead of complaint after complaint from us that we don't want it. Mr. Fry just steamrolled it on and on. Engineering study, DNR approval, land purchase. We seem to have an endless supply of time and money to continue this insanity. Why? What is behind this? A mayor who wants to save some drive time and who seems to be behind this all along? Send an emergency vehicle down a windy, curvy street and save time and risk harm to the EMTs and the fire workers and the residents? They say that this will solve the upstreet water problems. Well, it won't. They are not being addressed in this proposal at all. What about the safety of those who live on Thackeray Trail and have to negotiate the driveways and the vehicle traffic, not to mention the lack of sidewalks to approach a boardwalk as part of this extension? Children play on or near this street. What about their safety? I implore you to say no to this proposed extension and to stop the drain on the city coffers. For the safety and sanity of all who use this street, please just say no.
Diane Marshall.
Hi, I'm Diane Marshall. I live off of Thackeray on Longfellow Drive. And I also am asking that you say no to this. I have many of the same concerns as everyone else. A couple other things I just wanted to mention is that, like, in addition to the pedestrian and students walking, you've got the Oconomowoc track team, baseball teams, all those teams, the bicycles. If you've ever been around there, the schools use that driving down, with their bikes, jogging for exercise for as part of the class programs and athletic program. So again, that's more traffic. Where are they going to be, and especially if there are no sidewalks available for them. I'm concerned about parking along that road. Right now, that road is used for backup parking for football games, baseball games, graduation, big events at the high school. So if that's going to be a thorough street for rescue equipment and things to go through there, where are those people going to be parking? Not quite sure if anything is going to be done with the park there at the end of the street. So where would people, if they need to park along there for parking, is just another concern for safety, those going back and forth to the park. Maybe you're going to eliminate the park. I'm not quite sure on that status. I'm concerned about those rescue vehicles going down the road. When you've got, I think there's about 26 driveways of people backing in and out of. You've got a lot of traffic right at the light there at Thackeray by Walgreens. If any of you have lived there, you see there's quite a few accidents and things there already. People making left-hand turns, there's been a number. So I'm just concerned about more traffic coming through there, the increase in those possibilities, as well as the safety of our rescue team using that street. There is also, I mentioned the lights, okay. The parking, I'm looking down my list here. Oh, just nature kind of happens that when people come from a 2-lane, I understand the extension will be 2 lanes, and then people then opens up to 4 lanes. Generally speaking, when you drive and you're going 2 lanes, it opens to 4, people generally kind of speed up because now you got more space, you got go. So now you got these cars possibly speeding up through the residential portion, again, where there would be children and people walking. So that's a concern for me, another safety consideration for that traffic pattern there. I guess that's pretty much about it. I moved to that neighborhood because it's a quiet neighborhood. I'm concerned about, obviously the noise and the change in the traffic direction. And I just would expect and hope that you would vote no for the safety of people. I know the Oconomowoc Parkway was built. I thought that was purpose was to help connect rescue teams. We have a fire department on both sides. So I don't know if there's been a time study, how much seconds or time is that going to be saved by the rescue team using Thackeray Extension, especially if they're going to have to slow down for people, cars, people backing onto driveways who don't see them. So is there really going to be a time savings in that matter? I'm not sure if that's been done. I haven't seen it, so I'd just like to know about that as well. Thank you for your consideration, but please really look at the whole picture. And if this extension goes through, please take care of our water problems. The sidewalks, to me, would be a necessity. There's no, not after the fact, not after something happens, then go back and put sidewalks in. So please consider all this from our community. Thank you.
Excuse me, Sarah Bennis.
Good evening. My name is Sarah Bennis. I reside at 756 Thackeray Trail. It's become quite a joke that our neighbors take a photo of our house every time it rains because it looks like we live on the lake. Until recently, we've complained several times. Dr. Igler lives right next door to us, and he's actually had some improvements made to his front yard. We have not. My husband's redone our driveway at our own cost. But recently, there was an emergency in our neighborhood and some fire trucks came through. And surprisingly, the next day, they actually put a caution sign right by our home because there had been water there, that it was dangerous, there was excessive water on the road, and please to avoid it. So now we're gonna add traffic, kids, buses, all of us to that. And it's already a very serious situation for us every time that it rains and whenever the sewer is opened up. It's quite ridiculous. So I'm very concerned about that and how that's going to affect us. I'm also concerned, again, a woman mentioned it, but about Walgreens. When people line up at that light and then you have people coming in the direction to turn into Walgreens, the backup of traffic is going to be ridiculous. I haven't seen any studies that have been done. Have you looked into that? And again, just the safety of the neighborhood. So thank you.
Eric Bennis.
Good evening. Eric Bennis, 756 Thackeray Trail. Thank you all for your time and appreciate what you guys do for our city. My wife kind of just said just about everything I had to say, but I appreciate you guys hearing us. I hope you're listening. There is grave safety concerns, and they have been brought up in the past at meetings and through the minutes. And my greatest concern is that it took an ambulance that probably hydroplaned through that. I did see the ambulance come through. And until something either hydroplaned or caused enough concern for the EMS was enough to draw the attention, and it was a high water mark that stayed over. It doesn't take a full flooding to drench our streets. They go over our driveways. The erosion underneath our driveways are degrading the concrete. There's a serious water issue, and if we put the cart ahead of the horse, put the trail through without the infrastructure intact beforehand, you're not going to resolve the issue. And the water is still going to be concerned. And then what's going to happen to the water at the end of Thackeray Trail as well? Is it going to start eroding that before the rest of Thackeray Trail has been improved? Those are the greatest concerns that I have, is the safety, the water issue, and the safety concern with that, and the fact that it really wasn't brought to the attention until there was an EMS crew that came through. And then the very next day, I assume the EMS called the city. You guys probably have record of that. And there was a high water safety marker put on a road for a couple weeks. And that's no different than when there's a moderate rain in our neighborhood. It goes over and it stays over for a couple of days. It'll take 2 weeks for our gully to dry out. Thank you for your time. Again, appreciate it. And please, at least for the sake of tonight, please vote no so we can look into this further. Thank you for your time.
Tyler Kilman.
Good evening. I live at 744 Thackeray Trail. I'm encouraging all of you to vote no for this. A couple different reasons. If you're going to push this through, what is that road going to look like? What, if you've ever been down there on that road, see what that road actually looks like. It looks horrible. It is broken in a million pieces. Bring trucks down there. I work for a trucking company. I know what a truck does to a road on a blacktop. It's just a binder coat. It'll tear it up. You add a fully loaded truck on that road, it's going to tear it up even more. What are we going to do about that? You're going to push it through before you even start at the top of the road. I think that's something that needs to be looked at before you do that, because we're just going to have problem upon problem upon problem. Not much besides that. We also have in the winter with the plowing, all those little pieces of blacktop end up in our ditches. We got to clean that all out every year. The city comes and cold patches it. It just keeps breaking up, breaking up, breaking up. We need to figure this out. You guys need to look into it. I encourage everybody to go down there and take a look at this road and what it looks like. It's terrible. It's something that shouldn't be like this. So I encourage you guys to vote no. Thank you.
Melanie Stratman.
Good evening. Excuse me. I am Melanie Stratman. I reside at 744 Thackeray Trail. Pretty much would ask you all to please consider no tonight. The street is a wreck. There are cars that speed down it right now that they're not being monitored. There are days I back out of my driveway and I look in my mirror and somebody is right there because they're going so fast and they don't see me because they're coming down the corner. There is no monitoring of it. Our kids are out there walking. Those kids run. I have animals. I mean, we really need to look at the safety issues and take a step back and really look at it, because our neighborhood is a beautiful neighborhood, but it's crumbling. And if you put that extension through right now, it's going to be horrible. Thank you.
Yep. Tony Gascon.
Thanks. I'm Tony Gaskin, reside at 741 Thackeray Trail. I'm actually the neighbor that takes the picture of Lake Bennis to send over to them for their waterfront property. And we have had that for years. It is a very regular occurrence. Hey, the thing that was disturbing to me, we heard just this last weekend about, kind of timing for the plan to be something that could be accomplished over this summer. and that does concern me a lot. I have heard nothing about, you know, safety studies, what is the increased utilization that we're expecting to see? If this is a success, how many cars do you expect to be going down there? Do we know that? Do we know what that looks like? But and I don't know. I would expect to see quite a bit of increased traffic. We do have the water problems, which is huge. And I don't know how many of you have actually gone down Thackeray Trail to look at like the culverts. We have the deepest culvert on the street. It's about 7 feet deep. I know because I mow it, and it's a challenge. But if you're talking about walking paths, if you're picturing kids walking down the street, there's not a yard to walk in there. There's nowhere to walk. So it's not like there's somewhere to go. So the options there are poor. The driveways that are in my driveway, it's not a driveway that I can turn around in. It wasn't planned to turn around and not back out on the street. So if it's a busy street now, it becomes a big concern. And somebody said the number 26, it's about 30 driveways down there. So it's a lot of concern every day. So we absolutely have substantial safety concerns. The timing feels poor. If we're trying to jam this through just to get the extension done this summer, I would highly encourage, like I would do for any planning that I do for myself, do we have budget planned for the improvements on Thackeray Trail? We should do that first and then do the extension. If you're gonna do the extension first, you should already have budget allotted to do all of the work on Thackeray Trail. I don't think any of that's true. So that's where my concerns lie. I would encourage you to vote no. I don't want it to go through. And with those kind of thoughts, I don't know how we can vote to let it go through without the planning for what's there today. Thank you.
Melissa Cron?
Good evening. My name is Melissa Cron. I live at 833 Thackeray Trail. I want to thank you all. I know many of you are familiar with me because I've been up here before. First of all, I want to say I live in a wonderful neighborhood. And that neighborhood is part of Oconomowoc and why I'm here. And I would ask my neighbors, just because not everybody chose to speak tonight, if they could stand so that you could see exactly how many neighbors here are concerned about this, because our numbers are here. We rallied together because we feel that we need to stand together for many reasons, as you've heard tonight. And we have a neighborhood that has an integrity to it. And I know Mayor Nold has shared with us on numerous occasions that his neighborhood had an extension, and it was a neighborhood to a neighborhood. What is being proposed here tonight with the DNR acceptance is to take a neighborhood and not connect it to another neighborhood, but to connect it to another thoroughfare. And I'm very concerned about this because it will look different in our neighborhood. It will change the integrity of where we live. It makes me question whether or not our boulevard will be able to stay, or whether that will need to be erased so that I can safely get into my home, where I have an extremely steep driveway. Unlike the Gascons, who have the very scary ditch, I have the very scary driveway, where I have fallen when I have tried to do my snow and knocked myself unconscious. And now we're going to be adding additional people with additional cars in there, where we have ice and other areas like that. And I'm not the only one who has a scary driveway. However, I've had situations where the weather itself has become an issue. And so that neighborhood integrity, not only the fact that we love one another, we get together, we like spending time together, will be changed. But just how we even get around our neighborhood will be changed, in fact. When I've talked last June with Mark Fry, and Mark and I have had several conversations, and I asked him why there isn't a cohesive plan. And this really bothers me, because as of right now, we're only looking at one section. Thackeray Trail, if this were to go through as an entire unit, We live there. We know what's wonderful, and we also can tell you the faults. And unless you deal with all of those things as a system together, we're going to be paying for this the rest of our days. And I don't know anybody who's over in District 1, District 2, or on the other side in District 4 who's not part of us, who would want to continue to pay for a small section. There will be concerns. Why are you dumping that much money to maintain an area? And if we're not maintaining that area, long-term fiscal costs, I'm going to say, what does that say to your constituents if you're not going to take care of who's existing? Furthermore, I've sat in this chamber and tried to become educated on the issues facing Oconomowoc. I have watched as Alderman Rosick has gone line by line through the budget to make sure that we are wisely spending our money. I have heard Lou talk about affordable housing and making sure that we all have a place. Whitman Hills is a working class neighborhood. This is where people come who are first-time home buyers, young families, single incomes. This is what we can afford. By putting this through, you're going to be adding expenses that I don't know if I can afford all at once, let alone my neighbors. Because we will be talking about things that didn't exist when we purchased our homes. Unplanned for expenses, sidewalk maintenance, having to redo my driveway or even the landscaping in the front of my yard to maintain the integrity and value of my home. These are things that concern me because what is my property value affects your bottom line as far as taxes. So we need to pay attention to that as well. We need to make sure that we maintain those property values as well as those families who are able to afford to live here. We want to work with you. We have been here, we have spoken, we have extended invitations for people to come to our neighborhood meetings. We have asked for information. We have sought out answers. I ask you tonight to vote no for these reasons and the other reasons that my neighbors asked for tonight, because we would like to see what we can do better together. And is there a better plan or a better way to do this? Thank you.
Franz Michaels? That's all it is.
Happens every time it rains, regardless if it's 1 inch, 3 inches. We deal with this every day.
Waterfront. Thank you.
Hi, I haven't done this since 1987, so this might be a little iffy. Good evening, City Council members. My name is Franz Michaels. I live at 763 Thackeray Trail. I live with my wife, Andrea, my 15-year-old son, Josh, and my mother-in-law, Mary Beth. We have lived there for over 2+ years, and we love the city of Oconomowoc. I have only a few things I would like to say. I'll keep it real brief. With all the drainage from Highway 67 and the surrounding areas flowing down Thackeray, that water gets deep, sometimes 5-6 inches. Near Whittier, with the increased traffic, how is this going to be handled? More erosion in people's yards and ditches. I feel that the people living east and west of that, extension, are going to get the short end of that stick. And for what? Another street through street for convenience. Sorry about that. How is this increased traffic going to be handled as of right now? It's pretty quiet in that area. Increased traffic is not only going to destroy that hometown feel, but also increase the risk of accidents, speeding, and add to the erosion of already crumbling street. 2 other things I would like you all to think about before the vote tonight. If this was going to be your neighborhood, would you like to have cars speeding by your front door? And if this is your neighborhood, do you want to lose that hometown feel? I don't. Thank you again for giving me the opportunity to speak tonight, and please make the right choice and keep that hometown feel and oppose the extension on Thackeray Trail. Thank you.
Brian Paulson.
Hello, everyone. My name is Brian Paulson. I live on 815 Dante Drive, and I just want to say that I'm against the extension of Thackeray Trail. I don't really have a lot of talking points here because we've kind of discussed everything, but I kind of wanted to ask one question. I know this isn't a bi-directional communication, but does anyone know how many kids walk from the school to the strip mall there every day? Has anyone investigated this? Does anyone know how many bus stops there are down Thackeray Trail and then also down in front of Whitman Hills? I'm just curious if anyone has looked into it. The little bit of walking around I did, I think there is, in front of my house, I'm on Dante Drive, I'm 1 block off of Thackeray. From 2:30 to 3:30 today for 1 hour, there was 20 people that walked by. I gotta think over on Thackeray, there's more than that. And that was just in a 1 hour period. You see people walking out from the high school to the strip mall every day. What are they gonna do? Your plan here is backwards. You would have to have Thackeray Trail, the main part of the road now, fixed before you do the extension. You're literally taking a major road and driving it directly into pedestrian traffic. I think that's kind of ridiculous and crazy if you ask me. Someone's gonna get killed, quite frankly. So that was the one thing I wanted to say. The other item too is, Whitman Park, Whitman Hills, it's been a very stable neighborhood for the last 50 years. It's been a bedrock community. Why take that risk and change that? That community will stay there. That neighborhood will get better and better with time. But if you put the extension through, it's gonna degrade. Traffic like that always takes down property values because of the safety, walkability, and all the other issues that go with it. So that's all I had tonight. Thank you, everyone.
Let's see, Chris, I'm gonna butcher your last name. Why don't you say it?
Hi, my name is Chris Boguszewski. I live at 839 Thackeray Trail. I had quite a list of things to talk about, but every one of my neighbors have already talked about them, so I don't want to take really any more of your time. I would just ask that you would vote no to this plan. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there any other comments? Bring your card up. Just state your name when you get to the microphone.
I'm John Schroeder. I live at 1051 Summer Creek Road in Oconomowoc, so in Kevin's district. Just from a standpoint, a personal standpoint, at St. Jerome Parish, they announced that this may be voted on tonight and gone through. It's my understanding that St. Jerome Parish will have to pick up half the cost to extend Thackeray Trail on the portion of St. Jerome's property that St. Jerome's is giving to the city. And I understand that the cost of that may be around $750,000 that will be incurred to pick up half the cost of this road, which is a pretty exorbitant cost for a parish. We've just are trying to pay off past debt with the parish school and the church, and now this is going to be potentially added on to the nut that we've been paying off for the last 10 to 15 years. So I would ask the committee to vote no on this. I know this is sort of late in the game for me to jump in and stand up about this, but it's a huge concern because I didn't understand why our parish would agree to not only give the land to the city to create this thoroughfare, but then agree to pick up half of the cost on top of it when it is going to be a city road for all practical purposes. I believe St. Jerome picked up at least half the cost for the entrance to our parish school when that was all incurred, but now we're agreeing to pick up half the cost of the additional portion, which is really, for all practical purposes, for the city. And I would ask that you vote no, because I think that needs to be reassessed. Otherwise, St. Jerome will incur a significant burden to help pick up part of the cost. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other comments? Seeing no other comments, we'll move on to regular business. First item on the agenda, the next item on the agenda, I should say, is the consent agenda. Tonight we have licenses. We have a resolution proclaiming April 26th as International Migratory Bird Day, temporary construction easement, and the treasurer's report. So we need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved. Second.
Any questions? Go ahead, Matt.
I just have one comment or question about the temporary easement for the underpass. Is that project then gonna get done this summer? Yeah, or are we just, is this the first step to getting that finally connected?
This is part of the process. Actually, the county is working on the project right now. They hope to have it out to bid in May with construction taking place starting this summer. So this is just one of the components of allowing Waukesha County to be within the easements that the city already has out there.
So the county's planning to start working on the underpass soon. I mean, this
Yeah,
year.
it's been in process for quite a while now.
Great, thank you, Mark.
Yep.
It's been scheduled for 2019 since they started it.
Yeah, I just couldn't remember the schedule, so I appreciate that.
Any other questions? Seeing none, we have a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Alderman Kavieski.
Aye.
Alderman Rogers.
Aye.
Alderman Rozak.
Aye.
Alderman Shaw.
Aye.
Alderman Ellis.
Aye.
Alderman Spiegelberg.
Aye.
Alderman Zwart.
Aye.
Alderman Stray.
Aye.
Going on to committee reports, Finance Committee, consider act on ordinance to amend section 27.091A, Table 1, 3, 9B and C table, and 10B and C table of the municipal code relating to impact fee schedules and calculations. We need to give the ordinance its first reading and get a motion to give the ordinance its first reading.
So moved.
Second.
Go ahead, Lori.
Okay, so before you tonight is the ordinance changes for the impact fee study that was just completed by Trilogy Consulting and staff here at the city. This ordinance will amend the fees to the updated amounts from the study. I just wanted to mention that this ordinance changes for fees only at this time. We are recommending that the complete ordinance go to our city attorney for revisions due to recent law changes that affect parts of the ordinance that refer to accounting practices, refunds, and timing of collections. And we'll bring that to you at a further meeting.
Thank you. Discussion. Any comments? Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, I have a couple comments. I'm going to vote against the impact fee change. Impact fees are just another tax on folks coming into the community. And this issue actually, surprisingly, it's funny that it came out today because it's directly related to the road we want to build at Thackeray Trail. We're increasing impact fees so we can build roads to nowhere or roads that people don't want. And so I'm going to vote against the impact fee for that reason. In addition, I guess it's an old axiom. Once a community starts getting taxed, it seems like that tax just never goes away. It's only going up $125, but that's because we're taking away the water fee. Why don't we just take away the tax and not keep taxing people? You're hearing from people that don't want a road, and we're going to charge for the road to people that aren't even here yet, and limit the ability of them to construct. So I'm going to vote against it. I was in favor of previous impact fee increases, but not this one.
Go ahead, Kevin.
Yeah, I'm a little concerned also. After looking at the numbers, there seems to be a huge increase in, hold on one second.
Please get off the phone.
Let him finish.
No, not in the meeting.
Go ahead.
Alex, kick the guy behind you.
Yeah. Thank you.
On.
Go ahead, Kevin.
Okay. My concern has been and always will be the increasing and constant impact fee. And the only way I can see us getting this is by an increase in taxes. And we've been able to keep it very steady for a very long time. And my concern here is that at some point it's going to go ahead and have a huge, huge problem where, like some of these individuals have already stated, they may not be able to live in Oconomowoc because of these impact studies and fees and things. So, yeah, I'm not feeling it right now. I'm just not.
Go ahead, Charlie.
Yeah, I'm going to support this because if we eliminate
impact fees, or if we don't raise them, we're just gonna have to raise the tax levy for everybody, and I would much rather see the developers have to pay this than us.
Go ahead, Lou.
I'm gonna second that. It is a portion of costs associated with the growth of the community, not an assessed tax on the existing community due to the growth, correct?
That's correct.
So without that, that cost burden would be spread out,
It would fall on the citizens that exist here
Correct.
today, correct?
and unduly so. So,
But that's assuming that the projects.
Wait, he's talking.
and we are a community of growth. We have been over the last 5 to 10 years, one of the premier growth areas in Waukesha County. Our quality of life that we have established and enjoy is, in my opinion, second to almost none. And part of that is proper planning for the infrastructure and services that we enjoy on a daily basis, in part supported by the impact fees.
Do you ever want to add on to that then?
Yeah, that's assuming that these projects are approved. Yeah, we're going to be. I'm just not feeling it.
Go ahead, Tom.
Kevin, you know, I mean, approved or not approved, I mean, the way you're looking at it, it's not a burden on the taxpayers. It's a burden on the developers and everybody else. It's bringing it's saving the taxpayers money is what they're doing. I don't know why you're not digging it, but that's okay.
Go ahead, Lou.
To the point of collecting the impact fees associated with potential road connectivity, if those projects don't move forward in a timely fashion, those impact fees are then refunded to the parties that they were collected from, correct? So just because we're planning and collecting monies for projects doesn't necessarily mean that the projects are going to go through, and if those projects don't go through, that those monies aren't refunded back to the appropriate people. So it doesn't mean that Thackeray Trail is gonna happen or Lake Bluff Road is gonna happen, but we're preparing for that financially, being fiscally responsible for offsetting costs due to the growth and the pressures associated with that would make those projects a requirement to maintain service and connectivity.
Eric, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, this is about maybe a 1.5% increase to the cost of construction, right in that area. And on new construction, I don't believe it's necessarily gonna slow it down, so I'm okay with it. I will support it.
Aaron?
I was going to say that I'm also in support of this, and I think in a nutshell, the reason is that as a community and that we depend so much on our property taxes as a large source of our revenue, and that this will help alleviate some of that, so I will be in support of this.
Go ahead, Matt.
Let me just round this debate out, okay? It's a tax, no matter who pays it. And if it's not the developer developers buy houses, right, and build stuff, but people buy houses. So they're going to pay that in some fashion when they pay for the house. So it's a tax. You can call it an impact fee, whatever, it's a tax. And we're raising it for a variety of reasons. We're raising it for roads we don't need, and we're raising it for a larger police station than we need. You are against the police station. The reason this has to go up this high is because we want to build a brand new police station that we don't even know the cost for yet. So for those reasons, I'm voting against it. I think we're overspending. There's going to be a lot more stuff we're going to talk about tonight where we're overspending, we're taking on debt, and we're spending money we don't even have yet. So I'm against this. I think it's a tax no matter how you cut it. And look, I mean, it is an increase. And the only reason it's not as big is because we're cutting another one out that now we've decided we don't need. So that's my 2 cents. My final, unless someone else says something else, 2 cents. Wait.
Give you the 2 cents, is that a tax?
Yeah.
Comments? Seeing none, we have a motion and a second on the floor to give the ordinance its reading. Call the roll, please.
Alderman Kavieski?
Aye.
Alderman Rogers?
Aye.
Alderman Rozak?
Nay.
Alderman Shaw?
Aye.
Alderman Ellis?
Nay.
Alderman Spiegelberg?
Aye.
Alderman Zwart?
Aye.
Alderman Stray?
All right,
Do we have a motion to waive the rules to?
I'll make the motion to waive the rules to second reading.
Second.
Any comments? Seeing none, call the roll, please.
Alderman Kavieski.
Aye.
Alderman Rogers.
Aye.
Alderman Rozak.
Nay.
Alderman Shaw.
Aye.
Alderman Ellis.
Nay.
Alderman Spiegelberg.
Aye.
Alderman Zwart.
Aye.
Alderman Stray.
Aye.
The next item is consider act on granting a new 2019 Class C wine license to Cuban with a Twist LLC, fresh baked at 114 West Wisconsin Avenue. We need a motion to approve the resolution.
So moved.
Second.
And you want to?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. The city received an application for a Class C wine license for a new restaurant called Fresh Baked. It'll be in the former J.C.'s restaurant building or site. It's right near Eagles Landing. The city has no quotas on Class C wine licenses, and the licensee meets all Chapter 12 and state statute requirements to be able to be granted a license. I do ask that council consider recommending the license on the condition that it is not issued by the clerk until they are ready to open, and I'm putting a date of May 31st. However, the owner has indicated to me she is ready to go tomorrow, April 17th. However, you know, I still want that security that we don't issue the license unless they are opening.
Okay. Go ahead.
Do you need an amendment for that condition?
From the motion, yes. There was no, oh yeah, there was a motion. I didn't write it down. Yeah, I would need an amendment.
Can I comment on that potential amendment? We've done this before when we have an amount of reserve licenses that are finite.
Right.
In this case, we have unlimited Cs, so who cares
True.
if they pay for the license and they don't end up using it tomorrow?
That is a true statement, yes.
But I don't think we amend it. Let's just give it to her.
Okay. Any other comments? Seeing none, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Call the roll.
Alderman Kavieski.
Aye.
Alderman Rogers.
Aye.
Alderman Rozak.
Aye.
Alderman Shaw.
Aye.
Alderman Ellis.
Aye.
Alderman Spiegelberg.
Aye.
Alderman Zwart.
Aye.
Alderman Stray.
Aye.
On the public services, first item is consider act on a jurisdictional offer to purchase a portion of land at 1335 South Silver Lake Street for Thackeray Trail Extension. We need a motion to approve the jurisdictional offer.
Make that motion.
Second.
And you want to go through this?
Sure. So you have started some time ago, the ball rolling towards acquiring a 7,000 square foot triangle that would be the piece you need for Thackeray Trail either now or 20 years from now. We provided the owner with a appraisal that said that land was worth $6,600. The owners are in turmoil with regard to who's in control of deciding whether or not to accept that offer. I don't have anybody that I can negotiate with. So under the law, once we provide them with their rights, once we provide them with their appraisal and give them the notice that they have a right to get their own appraisal at our cost, we must wait 60 days and then negotiate. Well, I've been attempting to negotiate with a lawyer that they have here in Wisconsin that doesn't have the authority to negotiate with me or the city. And so, obviously, we do not want to, and I won't, agree to sign the contract, which I must do as city attorney, to build a road if we don't own all of the land upon which the road must be built. So tonight you must decide, irrespective of anything else, whether or not you want to acquire that 7117 square foot piece of property. I recommend that you put a cushion for reasons that are set out in the law, that there's fee shifting in the event they are able to show that you haven't paid them enough money. We have an appraisal for $6,600. I recommend that you allow and authorize me to issue a jurisdictional offer for $10,000, which gives you a little bit of cushion. And in the event they do not accept it within the 20-day time frame that's set forth in law, that you authorize me to then go ahead and pay that into circuit court by an award of damages.
Okay.
Then we will own the property.
Any questions? Does the motion have to state that it's a jurisdictional offer of $10,000? I mean, it.
Yeah, I mean, I want that direction specifically.
So we need a motion that states that we are gonna give a jurisdictional offer of $10,000 for the property. That's about it.
And then in the event obviously if they accept it, we'll pay it. And if they don't accept it, we'll pay it.
So that, you made the motion, right? The initial motion?
Lou did.
Lou did.
Lou did, yeah. So this amends your initial.
Yeah, I'd like
what do you
the motion to reflect the sentiment.
Okay.
As Attorney Riffle.
And who made the second?
I did.
And
Derek.
that same thing?
I'll second that.
Okay. Any comments, questions? Seeing none, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Call the roll, please.
Alderman Kavieski.
Aye.
Alderman Rogers.
Nay.
Alderman Rozak.
Nay.
Alderman Shaw.
Nay.
Alderman Ellis.
Nay.
Alderman Spiegelberg.
Aye.
Alderman Zwart.
Aye.
Alderman Stray.
Nay.
Nay, correct?
Nay.
Want to make sure. It does not pass.
Doesn't pass. Okay, that takes the next item off the agenda. Moving on to new business. We're not going to act on Thackeray Trail. Moving on to new business, consider acting a resolution authorizing purchase of Wizard of Oz characters in pursuit of downtown Yellow Brick Road Plaza enhancement. We need a motion to approve the resolution. Do
So moved.
we have a second?
Second.
Do we have a second? Okay. Bob? Where are you, back there?
As most of you should be aware, this year signifies the 80th anniversary of the world premiere of The Wizard of Oz that happened here in Oconomowoc, Wisconsin. One of the things we talked about in strategic planning as well as downtown revitalization is to try to create opportunities for our community to continue to be a destination. We have sought out a company called Fast Corp out of Toma, Wisconsin that actually did the Buc-ee's on Parade, who hold the molds to the Wizard of Oz characters, in which the Tourism Commission is interested in placing in City Hall Plaza right next to City Hall. So we are continuing to move forward that effort and fundraise to have those characters on display here permanently to signify that historical event. Our goal is to try to have them in place by August 15th, which will be the 80th anniversary showing of the movie in downtown Oconomowoc. So the resolution effectively is authorizing me to pursue the order of the characters. As I understand from the recommendation of the committee of the whole was 4 characters and the city council's contribution of $15,000 to do the concrete work in City Hall Plaza in order to accommodate them. So with that, I appreciate your support and look forward to being able to move this project forward after this evening.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Go ahead, Lou.
I appreciate all the work that you've done in gathering funds to help support this project. I think it's a good project for the city. It'll be a unique attraction and opportunity to identify our community even further with that special event of the premiere of The Wizard of Oz at a very minimal cost impact to our city and to our citizens on a project that's going to last for a long time to come. And I think it'll be a nice add.
Okay. Go ahead, Charlie.
Yeah, I'm going to oppose this because the original suggestion or the original proposal had 6 characters, including the witch and the Wizard of Oz himself. And I think those should be included and should be part of this process. And if they're not included, I'm not going to support it.
But
But what if I can get those donated?
I agree with Charlie because we talked about that, you know. 'cause
Nobody even saw The Wizard of Oz until the very end.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
I agree with Charlie because we talked about that. If you're going to have, you know, instead of 4, you have to have 6 because there's no place like home.
Go ahead.
Can we have the option, however, to purchase the other 2 at some point?
We'd have to do it at that time, yeah.
Right. Based on the committee discussion, we'll accommodate for it. We'll just have to add to that as we do it and those costs associated with it.
But
we did talk about that in the committee, and right now, the funds available through the fundraising efforts are enough to cover the cost of the 4, but we didn't have enough to cover the cost of the 6. I believe if we were to approve the project as it's been presented, there would be an opportunity to potentially get those additional funds if you shoot down the project because it's missing 2 of the caricatures that you'd like to see there. The chances of that happening go away completely, because we won't be able to move this in a timely enough fashion to have those figurines in place for the anniversary. So if you want to see the additional 2, I would recommend supporting it. If you don't want to see the additional 2, I'd recommend supporting it, just based on the project itself. If you don't like the project, then that is what it is. But if you like the project and you want to see it expand, we got to start someplace.
Hey, Bob, one other question. I mean, is this all with Warner Brothers or anything? Is it legal to get their?
You're not going to get sued, Tom.
Well, copyrights or whatever? Huh? No, I'm just wondering.
We are not.
We are not? Oh, then bring in the Munchkins then.
Those molds aren't made, but that'd be much more expensive.
As I stated at the committee level, one of the discussions is that if these characters are here, it's going to bring people in to come and have pictures taken. And if that's the issue, and as I said, I think the biggest draw will be the witch. People will want to have their picture taken with the witch.
If you'd like to amend the recommendation, we can do that too.
We tried that at the committee level and that didn't
work.
Get it.
Go ahead.
I think if there's money available in funding, we should buy them all, but I think that plaza will be too busy with 6 characters. I'd like to see the witch and the wizard put somewhere else in the city, that's all.
Challenge taken.
The motion then to change the recommendation.
Put some green on your face, a wig, a hat, you're good.
Yeah. I have no brain. I can play one of them.
Do we have a motion to amend the request?
Sure, I'll make a motion to amend the request to all 6 characters.
I guess we'll try a second.
Okay, with the condition that only 4 of them are installed in the plaza? And the other 2 are just?
Oh, I would like to see them all in the same
I
spot.
understand that, but.
That's where I'm at.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second to do 6 again, in the plaza. Any questions? Call the roll, please. Aaron, you have a question?
I was just going to say, like we said in the committee of the whole, I think the 4 is a good compromise, and we still have the option to get the other 2 at some point. And as someone else said in the committee of the whole, the 4 that we would get are the ones that we're seeing going down the Yellow Brick Road. So I think that's a good start.
So we have a motion and a second on the floor. This is the amendment. Call the roll, please.
Alderman Kavieski.
Nay.
Alderman Rogers.
Nay.
Alderman Rozak.
Nay.
Alderman Shaw.
Aye.
Alderman Ellis.
Nay.
Alderman Spiegelberg.
Nay.
Alderman Zwart.
Nay.
Alderman Stray.
Toto would be awful disappointed. Aye.
Okay, that fails. So we're back to the original motion. Any other questions? Go ahead.
Can I make a motion to buy all 6 and put 2 of them somewhere else?
I'm going to second that.
Okay, so we have a motion to buy all 6 and determine the location of the final 2 at some later date?
Correct.
That sounds good?
Yeah.
Any questions? Go ahead, Lou.
That would currently then add about $6,000 to the $15,000 worth of cement work, so about $21,000 in expenditure for the project without any additional private funds coming in to offset the additional.
Well, the cement work over here would be less because we have less platform, and the other 2 may not be mounted on a concrete. So we don't really know.
But we'd have to authorize a certain spend, correct? In this.
You're going to have to anchor them in concrete.
Right.
Yeah.
But you could probably get additional funding to pay for that?
That's part
We
of
can
the
always.
Challenge taken.
Okay.
And at a later date.
All right.
The whole point is to we have to put the order in for the
Correct.
figurines. If we don't do that, we're not gonna get it by the time we need them. so.
Correct.
Go ahead.
I think that's part of the original motion, though, is to continue fundraising efforts.
That's what his
what's
part was,
written.
yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes.
That was
All right.
always been the intent of the
Good.
Tourism Commission to do.
Motion.
That's okay, go ahead.
And it's also best to purchase them all now because they could be more expensive later, so.
I think we should put one of them in front of the original theater where it came.
Oh, there's currently a driveway there to the bank, and we don't own that.
Oh, that bank, yeah, well,
Chase Bank, yeah.
Okay, any other questions?
by the drive-through.
Seeing none, we have another amendment to purchase all 6 at this time, locating 4 in the plaza and 2 to be determined later. Any other questions? Seeing none, call the roll, please.
Alderman Kavieski.
Aye.
Alderman Rogers.
Aye.
Alderman Rozak.
Aye.
Alderman Shaw.
Nay.
Alderman Ellis.
Aye.
Alderman Spiegelberg.
Nay.
Alderman Zwart.
Aye.
Alderman Stray.
Aye. Photo says happy.
Okay. Okay, moving on to election of council president by alderman. We need a election of the council president. I think everybody has sheets in front of them.
Ballots.
Unless it's a unanimous election, so we need motions for council president.
I'll move to nominate Alderman Lou Kowieski as council president.
Does that need to be seconded?
No, we don't need to second it.
I nominate Charlie Shaw to be council president.
Okay, so we will have an election, and is this secret ballot?
No, no, it's not.
No, it is not.
It's not secret
No,
ballot?
it is not.
No,
Okay.
sir.
Wow.
So the winner of this will need to get 5, right?
Yes,
Correct?
yes.
Okay, so.
Um,
Oh, wait, still Phil.
Pass them.
You have ballots in front of you, and write down the name of the candidate of your choice and your last name as well.
I can't spell Kowieski. Can I just put LK?
Just put LK as, I'll know who you mean. LK.
Okay. Oh, I can't, my eyes, yeah. it's a little-
I think that this is.
Sure, read them, yeah, but they don't have to know who they're from. So it's secret from who they're from, so fold them up and pass them down.
Oh, very secret.
Oh, we have to
I'll
put our
shake
name
them
in
up
here?
so
Where do
no
you
one
put your name?
sees.
Oh, yeah?
You read,
Yeah,
you do.
she does.
Yes,
So we have to know who they're from.
yes,
On
they
the
have to
back.
write their name on it, so I know who it's from and who they're voting for.
Yeah, I mean, it's a public.
Right.
Oh, so we
Yes.
gotta,
You gotta
Put
put,
your name on your ballots,
write your name,
Oh,
who
yes,
it's
I'm
from.
sorry, Karen, sorry. So I got 4 here.
unless you just want to have them raise their Daffy Duck.
For the vice president.
We've been doing ballots, but
You need to put your name on
Done it?
we have done it that way, yes.
Sorry.
That's cool. Well, now it's not so secret anymore.
It's only 2.
Well, it's not secret ballot.
Oh, really? Oh.
One more.
We know who you're voting for, you nominate.
Nominate him.
Okay.
These will be read in no particular order.
We could have just gone around, too.
Vote for Shaw by Shaw.
Vote for Shaw by Kavieski.
sounds like a law firm.
Vote for Kavieski by Rozak.
Surprising.
Vote for Shaw by Ellis. Vote for Shaw by Stray. Vote for Kavieski by Zwart. Vote for Kavieski by Rogers. Vote for Shaw by Spiegelberg. And vote for Kavieski by Kavieski.
Okay. So now we're tied. We have a second ballot.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to just do it by hand since it's not private?
It's up to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll just do it
They
by
make
hand.
their own rules.
Since this is not a secret ballot, just do it by raise of
Can I
hands.
ask a question, maybe?
Yes.
Okay, Lou, what are you gonna bring to the table?
What you get?
Maybe I should speak to the nomination. Should I speak
No,
to
no,
the?
no, wait, I didn't,
Yeah, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know you were.
finished. Okay, Tom, what are you gonna bring to the table?
Not Tom, it's Charlie.
Charlie. You're Tom. You're Charlie.
Same consistency as
Exactly,
ever.
exactly. What are you gonna bring to the table?
The same consistency I always do.
You want to say something?
Yeah, I'll just speak to the nomination. I thought Lou's done a lot in the last term here to kind of push some stuff forward. Like, I think you took kind of the thing we just voted on with the Yellow Brick Road was one of your ideas, and the water droplets and stuff. I think you've done some good stuff and made some interesting progress for the city. So that's why I put your name in the hopper. So I didn't know it'd be that contested. So
Okay. Any other comments? Seeing none, what we'll do?
I would agree. It's the same comments Matt made. He's been working to push forward stuff at Olympia as well that we've been talking about. So I just think he's been very proactive as an alderman, and I'm going to support that. So.
Okay. Go ahead, Tom.
I've got no problem with my partner to the left, but I think Charlie Shaw brings, he knows about everything, you know? I mean, and he studies, and he's, you know, he would make a pretty good guy if you ever went down.
Okay, Lou?
Yeah, he could step right in, they both would do a good job. I think Charlie was just a step ahead.
It was an honor to be nominated, and if for some reason I do get a chance to serve, I would put whatever I need to put into to do a good job. Charlie has done a fantastic job as a president and leader of our council, and you know, again, if I were to move forward in that role, I'd look to you for some of your guidance. You are knowledgeable, you're kind, your character is outstanding. I would like to think that I have brought some new ideas and some new efforts, but everything happens for a reason, and everything happens in its time, so however it goes.
Okay. So we're going to do a hand vote. Is that what you wanted to go ahead?
Really, this was kind of a flip of the coin in my mind because both of these guys are so qualified. My question is, if we would nominate the other person, whichever one doesn't win, for council vice president, how much of a role is the council vice president?
Yeah, there is.
Yes, there is.
Yeah, there is.
Under your ordinance?
Yep.
Yes.
Oh, there's none under the state.
I was vice president last year, so technically I should be in line to be president.
Okay, Joe.
For ballots.
Mr. White.
So what is the role then of the council vice president?
There's no role. It's just that if the mayor's not here, the president takes over. If the president and the mayor aren't here, the vice president takes over for a meeting. That's basically what it is. What's never happens.
Like that extra goalie at a hockey
game.
No, that's not true. Miller was mayor because he was president.
Yeah.
Before you.
Yeah, because he was the president at the time.
That has happened.
So, I mean, the president would have more of a role than, and if for some reason, doesn't happen anymore, but previous mayors would want to have more input into the debate, they would give up the chair and have the president sit in the chair. So that can happen too. Go ahead.
Okay, I'll make this easy. I'll be glad to step down and would support Lou.
Okay. So he took that, that basically, do we have to vote then? Do we have to have another vote? Okay, so we'll have another vote. All those in favor of Alderman Kowalski?
Raise your hand.
Okay, unanimous.
Unanimous.
So Lou's president. Next is election for council vice president. We need nominations for vice president.
I'd like to nominate Charlie Shaw.
Second.
Any other nominations? Seeing none, it'd be unanimous. Do I have to take a vote on that?
Nomination was
By proclamation, by unanimous, okay. So Charlie's vice president. Next is selection of council representative on the plan commission. Need nominations for that?
I'll move to nominate Derek Swart.
Second.
Any other nominations? See,
Nobody else wants it?
no. No, I don't appoint.
Not to these positions.
So by unanimous proclamation, Derek's on the plan commission again.
Thanks, everyone.
Next is mayoral appointment to emergency government director with council confirmation. And I'd like to nominate Ron Berger as the emergency government director with council confirmation.
I move to confirm those appointments.
Second.
Okay. Moved and seconded. Could take the roll, please.
Alderman Kavieski,
Aye.
Alderman Rogers,
Aye.
Alderman Rozak?
Aye.
Alderman Shaw?
Aye.
Alderman Ellis?
Aye.
Alderman Spiegelberg?
Aye.
Alderman Zwart?
Aye.
Alderman Stray?
Aye.
Okay, next one is the mayoral appointment to the Paps Farms Joint Stormwater District. I appoint myself and Mark Fry. There is no confirmation necessary on that. And to the WPPI board, I appoint Joe Pickert, and Sarah Kitzenbull is the alternate. Now we go on to staff report. The committee nominations, or the committee appointments and commissions and things like that will be at the next meeting. I wanted to see who ended up where with the votes tonight, so we'll go from there. So staff reports, I'll turn it over to Sarah.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. We're going to share tonight the quarterly update for our strategic plan, which we adopted just in 2018. We'll be doing these quarterly reports to the council and the public for you, so you know where we're at. Going to start here with just a snapshot overview of the city's strategic plan initiatives and the status. If you'll recall, the chart on the left the city has 5 major goal areas identified in the strategic plan, and then the red bars represent actually action items. So there's 101 action items in our 5-year planning horizon. The chart on the right kind of shows you where our progress is to date. So in the last 9 months of work, we're about 15% complete on the items that were identified in the original plan, and over half are in progress. Some updates on things that were completed during the first quarter 2019. We did complete the bidding and award for the Valley Road Water Main project that's currently underway. Now you'll see the equipment out in that area doing that work. We did complete the design and bidding for the 2019 street projects, and the construction award will be coming forth at the May meeting. And finally, the electric rate case was approved by the Public Service Commission, and the new rates were implemented on March 1st. This is a number of items that are started or in process during the first quarter of 2019. I'm just going to highlight a few of these items for you. The Olympia area redevelopment, the developer in that area continues to work on a plan. The council and the Plan Commission did consider and approve a CSM in February, but we will continue to see further plan development by the developer, and as he brings that forward, we can consider that at the council level. So that'll be an ongoing item. The public safety facility design, that work continued by our architects in the first quarter and now into the second quarter. The timeline going forward is we expect to be able to bid that project in June and consider the construction bids then in the month following in July. Thackeray Trail, we did do some work on that in the first quarter. Based on the council's action tonight, that would be a project that will show as deferred in the next update. The Northeast Regional Park Planning, the Phase 1 improvement planning was done. That was put in the street projects. The Committee of the Whole discussed that tonight. That will be coming forth for the construction award at the May meeting as well. Impact fee study update, we did work on that in the first quarter. Of course, we updated that tonight and passed that ordinance. Continued work on the comprehensive land use plan update. We had our second steering committee that was held in February of this year. We reviewed the community survey results at that meeting, and we talked about topics of interest going forward. Our consultant is now continuing to do work on the plan, and we'll have further meetings going forward. We're working on evaluating enhancements to our village green, and we're waiting for some information back from some architects that are looking at concepts there. And we're continuing to get ready for welcoming our new neighbors from the Southwood development in the Village of Summit. And we sent out an initial letter to the residents to let them know that they'll be welcomed into our community as of the end of this year. And we've been doing work on our planning and updating our welcome packet and things to make sure that we can make that transition as smooth as we can for them. We're consultant started work on our market study update for our crew position, wages, and then we have a lot of work going on kind of behind the scenes that you all may not see day to day, but a lot of software and technology projects that we're working on behind the scenes. There are some things in the strategic plan that shifted priority in this first quarter. The Committee of the Whole met in March and talked about the Lapham Street Bridge and decided to defer the opening of that bridge to through traffic until we do a reconstruction of that bridge in the future when grant funding is available. The Collins Street parking lot, that was a project that was in the budget for this year and work had begun on it. We did have a budget meeting last week actually with the Committee of the Whole, and the direction there was to look at parking alternatives in our downtown to try to find additional parking options that might be available for our community. And this lot was one of the areas that was discussed as a potential to look at, so we will need to defer our further work on that until we figure out the alternatives for this particular area if we should move forward. And then finally, the East Wisconsin Avenue Corridor development. That's a focus area of the city. We'd like to see redevelopment of that corridor. And the CDA did meet during the quarter and recommended that we create a proposal for to invite concepts about visions of what that corridor could look like, site plan development. So that's in process of being developed. There are always things that come in the door. I left the items on here from the last quarter update and just kind of, you can see in the colors after, most of these things are continuing into the second quarter. But what I wanted to highlight were the two new items under the second quarter, the additional parking options in the downtown, which I just discussed. And then the Census 2020 is another item that we will be involved in, as so the planning department and our city clerk will be involved in the Census 2020 and getting that word out so that we can make sure that everybody is aware of the census and is counted when that comes through. Looking ahead at the items that are on the strategic plan that were scheduled to begin in the second quarter, of course we're undertaking the construction of the Valley Road water main. We've got the award for the street projects. As mentioned earlier, the pedestrian underpass at the Highway 67 and Oconomowoc Parkway, that's a county-led process, but they expect to go to bidding here in May and then award that contract in the summer. Our transient boat piers on Lac La Belle, we do have a couple of the piers placed currently, and the others are on order, so when they arrive, we will get those placed. And that will complete the project for the additional boat piers and availability for our boaters coming into our city. And then our Human Resource Department is working on a couple of items that were identified in the plan as one being a recognition program for employees and elected officials, and that's a policy that is being crafted and will come forth to a personnel committee in the future. And we recently attended the Career Day at the high school in order to expose our students and upcoming future leaders as to opportunities within the city for work and other ventures. So just looking ahead at the schedule, we will do these quarterly updates. The next quarterly update would be at our second July meeting. And then I wanted to mention on April 30th, we will have a workshop session with our council to go through the annual review of our strategic plan. We need to extend our time horizon, that additional year. It's got 5-year outlooks. We need to add on that additional year of 2024. But of course, there's things that change and move, as we all know, and we need to work through if there's shifting priorities, if there's new things, if there's things that need to be removed, et cetera. So we'll be working through that at the end of this month. So with that, I want to thank everybody for their continued work on our strategic plan initiatives, and look forward to working with you in the quarter ahead.
Thanks. Did anybody have any questions for Sarah on the plan? No?
Real quick.
Go ahead, Lou.
Are we making any progress on the dashboard, on the online dashboard associated with that?
For the strategic plan, we're not to the public portion yet. We're still finalizing our internal reporting capabilities. Our second phase would be for our elected officials, and then the third phase would be public. So I don't expect the public piece to be ready this year, but we're continuing work. With all of the other things going on, it's one of those things where it's on the docket, but we're continuing to maneuver through the internal needs and then the needs of our elected officials first, but hoping that the quarterly updates are a good update for our public.
Thanks. Next up is Chief Berger.
So we thought we'd give you a brief presentation on the train versus semi crash that occurred. Which one, Ivan? Right there? All right, so this train versus semi crash happened on March 22nd, 2019 at approximately 8:13 a.m. We received a number of 911 calls in reference to the incident. Involved a flatbed semi-trailer carrying approximately 42,000 pounds of sheet metal that was on its way to D&H Industries. This is just a diagram showing how the semi was trying to come across the tracks. That circle right there indicates a median curb that the semi got hung up on. He was trying to turn right onto 2nd Street. He was unable to negotiate the turn. He backed up, at which time he was struck by the train. Our investigation based on witness statements were that the lights were already flashing when he proceeded across the railroad tracks, past the gate and through the railroad tracks. And recently, this past week, had an opportunity to view his in-cab video, which actually showed the lights flashing as he approached the intersection and pulled across the railroad tracks. Wow. So, right here, the tractor actually disengaged from the semi. The driver was actually able to turn the corner, park his semi and get out. He was uninjured. We did have him assessed and transported to OMH to be checked out, but he was medically cleared immediately. And here you can see where the undercarriage from the trailer was actually ripped off and the pin stayed in place on the tractor itself. The trailer was split in half. This would be on the Summit Avenue side. This would be the nose part of the trailer. You can see how one half of it was split, came to rest at that location there. It's another picture of it. The other side is on the Maxim's side of the railroad tracks. That's the back half of it. You can see the number of pieces of sheet metal scattered around the ground. The debris field was significant. There's another view showing you the location. Again, the debris field was significant. I just want to point out on this slide here, you'll see later on we'll talk a little bit about unified command and the incident command system. You have the 3 stakeholders involved. You have myself, the fire chief, and Mark Fry. We all had different roles, even though the law enforcement was primary on this investigation, we all worked together on the incident. Another view over Maxim's, the number of sheets of sheet metal spread about. You can see how close it actually was to the restaurant. And then this is on the Summit Avenue side. You can see the standard that was torn off. Pretty much right about where the standard was, maybe back about 50 feet, there was a gentleman who was coming down Summit Avenue, approaching the intersection with Main Street, saw the train coming, saw the semi, and he quickly swerved over to the other side of the road. That's his car right there, to avoid getting hit by any of the sheet metal. And he was fortunate enough not to get hit by any of the sheet metal on that side as well. His vehicle just sustained rock damage. That's actually the old St. Jerome's property right there. And then another view of the debris field, a couple more. And then this shows where the sheet metal slid across the ground, cracking up the curb and gutter that has to be replaced as a result of the crash. And then Maxim's, we were very fortunate with Maxim's. Maxim's has double pane windows. So all the rocks that were flying around broke a number of the outside pane of the window, but did not break the inside pane. So shortly after everything got calmed down inside, people were able to sit back down and watch what we were doing out there. So, some more broken windows. So again, we were very fortunate throughout this entire incident. We were very fortunate between the flying sheets of sheet metal, the debris, and everything else that more people didn't get hurt. This is just the back bar area by Maxim. So you can see a number of rocks that were scattered about. Their air conditioner being knocked off its base. And if you see, that's a sheet of the sheet metal that came to rest underneath their ventilation system. And this is some more of the sheet metal that was actually eventually picked up by the Department of Public Works. They came out and picked that all up with us with a skid steer. And you can see how some of that just actually dug into the ground as it was flying across.
How heavy were those sheets?
Well, how much? 400, 500 pounds apiece.
Okay.
Wow.
So just again, more, then this is our train itself, and talking to the people of the train. They said that it's probably one of the most extensively seen engines they've seen damaged. That engine cost about $2.8 million, so I don't think the insurance company is going to be real happy. You see the ladder alongside of it, even though no one was injured in the engine itself, they had to get out through a ladder. Closer view of it. Side view of it. And then before I go any further, the train was traveling 48 miles an hour at the time of impact, and it traveled approximately 2,800 feet before it stopped, which is typical for a vehicle train crash. They usually go about a half mile before they're actually able to stop. We were fortunate again that the train did not derail. It was carrying 94 tanker cars of ethanol.
Ooh.
So it could have been very serious, but we were fortunate it didn't derail. And again, there were no injuries. So in our system, I was asked to touch on this briefly. In our system, we use what's called the Incident Command System. It falls under the NIMS network, which is National Incident Management System. We use it for major events, both planned and unplanned. Obviously, this was unplanned. Planned events, we use it for parades and things of that nature, triathlons. The benefit is that an ICS organization can expand and contract to meet the needs of an incident. And our three major goals in this order are life safety, incident stability, and then property conservation. The incident commander, those on the scene, are responsible for the on-scene management of our incident. And then more complex scenes like you saw here involve unified command where multiple agencies work together, have different responsibilities. In this case, fire, police, and DPW. If you go back to when we had our church explosion, at one point we had ATF, DCI, pretty much every utility involved in it and construction company involved in it as well. You can increase it and you can decrease it based on what you need. If we would have had a leak or a fire, we would have enacted our emergency operations center, and that would include the department heads who provide support services to the EOC and the incident commander, the policymakers, and then the stakeholders, all the different departments. And they gather to coordinate the response for the incident. And then the EOC is actually responsible for the community-wide response to an incident. And then the EOC and the incident commander work together for a common goal, but at different levels. And if our resources would have become overwhelmed as a result of this incident, the mayor would have made a formal request to Waukesha County Emergency Management, who, depending on the circumstances, would have gotten Wisconsin Emergency Management involved. That's just a brief overview of how our system works. Are there any questions?
Was the truck driver ever cited?
The truck driver was cited for failure to yield at a railroad crossing, unsafe backing, and as course of the investigation, we found he was in possession of THC.
Okay.
He did not appear to be under the influence. He was tested, did not appear to be under the influence. He consented to a blood draw. We have not got the results back yet from, but he did not appear to be under the influence.
Go ahead, Kevin.
I want to thank you and all that were involved with the cleanup. You did an outstanding job, just outstanding.
Thank you. We were fortunate, to have a an incident of that magnitude, to have it all cleaned up and everything open again in 7 hours, I thought was incredible. So everyone did a great job.
Good.
Anything else?
Thank you, Chief.
Yeah, that accident was a little bit bigger than the 1.5 years ago when I was down by the railroad depot.
Yeah.
The horses.
Oh.
You had
Chief.
something to add?
Since this guy was negligent, I mean, I'm assuming the liability is falling with him and with the company that he works for as far as
Correct.
all the repairs that will be done? Okay.
Well, you know, for the police department, that's pretty much the cost of doing business for us, but for the work that, you know, Department of Public Works had to come out and do, you know, we can bill them for that, but what we do is pretty much just what we do.
The concrete and that, I mean.
Right, Mark's already submitted a bid, or a bill, I think it was about 13,000, Mark, 12, 13?
1.2 million.
1.2. So, that's it. Okay?
Okay, next thing up is the library update. In honor of National Library Week.
Yes. Thank you, Mayor, Common Council. Just get my presentation up here. Okay, thank you, everyone. My name is Betsy Bleck, and I'm the director of the Oconomowoc Public Library. And I'm here because last week was National Library Week. So since we didn't have a council meeting last week, this is 1 week overdue. But I'm excited to be here to just share a couple of things we're up to at the library. First of all, 2019 is starting off very strong for the library. Our circulation, which is the number of physical items checked out by patrons, is up 8% year to date. Library visits are steady, following a 4% increase in 2018. And librarians have already answered 3,787 reference questions this year, which is a 5% rise compared to the same time last year. So we're keeping very busy. We were honored this year to receive the honor of Hula Frog, which is a family activities website, Hula Frog's most loved library in the Waukesha Lake Country area. 2 years ago, we shared the honor with Waukesha. In the last 2 years, we've held the honor to ourselves, so we're very pleased about that. Before I continue, I did want to point out that we have some library board members here. Of course, Alderman Rosick is on the library board. We have our library board president, Matt Mulder, present. And we have Melissa Cron, a library board member. We also have a staff member present. Lissa Ratter is our administrative coordinator. And we have volunteer extraordinaire / Friends of the Oconomowoc Public Library Board Vice President Pat Ludwig. There's Pat. Thank you, Pat. Thank you, everybody, for being here. So I wanted to share a couple of services that we offer that I thought you would like to know about because they could really come in handy for some of your constituents, citizens here in the city. The first one I'll talk about is 1,000 books before kindergarten. As we all know, the more books you read before you start school, the more ready you are to learn to read when you get there. So the goal of 1,000 books before kindergarten is to encourage families and young people to read 1,000 books before they even set foot in school. This has been a very popular program so far, and I encourage you to encourage your constituents to join it. We're also part of the Library Memory Project. The Library Memory Project is a partnership with our library and a number of libraries in the area to offer memory cafes, which are monthly gatherings for people with early stage dementia or mild cognitive impairment and their care partners. So they're monthly gatherings where people can get together, connect with others who are in the same situation, learn something new, have fun, and socialize in a setting where everyone's understanding about what you're going through. We also offer Gale courses. Gale courses are free with your library card. This is a cooperative purchase the library makes as part of our library system membership. Gale courses are 6-week online classes led by a real-life human being in a variety of topics, some of which are great for test prep or if you're getting ready to go to college. Some of them are great for business skills, such as business communication or computer applications. And there's also a number of classes on topics for personal development, such as weight loss, helping elderly parents, and mastering public speaking. And new classes begin every month. There really is a topic for everybody in Gale courses. Another service we offer is Cypress Resume. As we all know, a lot of job application activity has gone online, which is great, but it can be a real challenge if you haven't had very much experience with computers. Cypress Resume is an extremely easy tool to use. It takes 3 steps to create a resume. So all you need to do is type in your name and the jobs that you've had, and then it formats a nice resume for you. That's been a really great service that we've seen some great results with our patrons and with citizens. And coming soon, we have home service. This is one I particularly wanted to highlight for you. Home service is a service we'll be rolling out, we hope, in May. And it'll be volunteers delivering library materials to folks who are unable to visit the library in person due to temporary or permanent illness and disability. So if you know anyone in your district who is perhaps interested in volunteering to deliver materials or who might benefit from receiving home service, please let me know or encourage them to contact the library. And last, I wanted to thank Common Council for all your hard work and commitment to our community, your support of the library. This is a picture of many of our staff. We don't always wear sequined headdresses, but our staff party was around St. Patrick's Day this year. So there we are. And so thank you on behalf of our library patrons, citizens, staff, the library board, and friends. And happy National Library Week. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry, one last thing. The aforementioned Lissa Ratter created this great infographic. I have a number of copies up here at the front. Alderman, you received these in your mailbox during National Library Week, but if anybody would like an additional copy, they're up here on the table. Thank you.
Anything else? Okay, reports and comments from the mayor. I have a couple of proclamations. The first proclamation is for Arbor Day. Whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees, and whereas a holiday called Arbor Day was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska, and Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world. And whereas trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable resource giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products, and trees are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. And whereas Oconomowoc has been recognized as a Tree City USA by the National Arbor Day Foundation and desires to continue its tree planting ways, now therefore I, David Nold, Mayor of the City of Oconomowoc, do hereby proclaim April 26th, 2019 as Arbor Day in the City of Oconomowoc and urge all citizens to support efforts to care for our trees and woodlands and support our city's community forestry program. Further, I urge all citizens to plant trees to gladden the hearts and promote the well-being of present and future generations. The second one is for Knights of Columbus Days. So whereas treatment and care of persons with intellectual disabilities has been a special project for assistance by the Wisconsin State Council Knights of Columbus, and whereas since 1974, the state and local councils of the Knights of Columbus have conducted an annual fundraiser in the communities of Wisconsin with proceeds of the endeavor donated to not-for-profit agencies serving persons with intellectual disabilities. And whereas Knights of Columbus Council number 2487 of the City of Oconomowoc will be joining the other Knights of Columbus councils in the state by conducting a local fund drive for this worthwhile cause. Now therefore I, David Nold, Mayor of the City of Oconomowoc, do hereby proclaim April 26th through April 28th, 2019 to be Knights of Columbus to aid persons with intellectual disabilities and urge all citizens to take cognizance of the special events arranged for this time. So those are the two proclamations. The only other comment I have is I'd like to welcome Andy. Hopefully you're going to stick around for a while.
Ouch. Years, maybe.
Reports and comments from Alderman? Kevin?
Yeah, I have one question in reference to the corner of Whittier and Thackeray. Has anybody gone to take a look at that as far as that is concerned? That's really concerning me right now. This shouldn't be. This should not be. Has anybody taken a look at it? And if not, why not? I can't hear you.
Yes.
Yes, we have been out in that area during rain events.
Recently, have you been to that area?
Well, not over the winter, I had not. But during other rain event periods, we have been up in the area, yes. We know that there's a drainage issue up there that needs to be addressed, and that will take place with the with a project that addresses the existing part of Thackeray Trail, which is not on the books right now.
The only problem that I'm having with this is the fact that this is hurting a family. This is hurting their property. This is hurting a lot of what they're about. And I'm really shocked and amazed that we didn't, as a city, go there and try to help them. I'm really shocked and amazed about that. So if there's anything that we can do to help them, help this area, so that this doesn't happen the next time, I'd really appreciate that if that can be done.
It'll take digging up the entire ditch system all the way through there, which would be the project that we were looking to start the preliminary work on this year if we would have had the funds from the street project, which aren't available now.
Regardless of that,
It'll take a multi-million-dollar project through that area, which has been discussed. And the first phase of that was designing the extension, determining if the DNR would permit it, because that was always the large question, because if the DNR did not issue a permit, then the street would not be extending, and we'd be looking at how do we want to reconstruct a street that's not a through street. If it was going to be a through street, you know, the project that was here, you know, tonight, then we would be looking at that and looking at the options for that. Thackeray Trail needs work. I am not in any disagreement with the comments that have been made here. It's got drainage issues. It was unfortunate that it was constructed with ditch systems, and a lot of the culverts are too small under the driveways, which caused the issues. The DOT project put extra water down there that was never planned to go there, so that added to that when the bypass went in.
Last thing.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Last thing, thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah. The last thing that's a bit concerning with me, and I know I've been on the board for 2 years, but I'd like to have an open conversation about RFPs, because in the 2 years that I've been here, I think it's been quite evident that I always ask one question: how long have we been with whatever firm it was that we're using? And I believe that when I look at a lot of the numbers, and I do appreciate the meetings that there were, it was very educational. I've got a tremendous amount of questions. And so I think that the community, as well as us, as they've already stated, we should be all part of this process. And there's just some numbers out there that just are not making sense, and there's certain things that are happening that I just need questions to, or answers to. So I'd really like to have some sort of a public forum of some sort to discuss these RFPs much further, because I think as a city, we're losing a lot of money, and I think this is probably one of the areas in which we're losing it. So thank you for your time. Thank you.
Go ahead, Tom.
I would just like to invite people down on April 24th from 1 to 4. It's our centennial American Legion open house. The American Legion was founded in April 15th, 1919 in France, just after World War I. And we are 100 years old. And we have our new building down at the Eagles Landing. That's 130 West Wisconsin Avenue. We'll come down and see what we're all about, all the thousands of dollars we spend in the community of doing support for anything from Boy Scouts to kids programs to baseballs to food pantries to whatever else we do, and take care of our own veterans. We work on suicide prevention. It's down from 22 to 20 veterans a day commit suicide. And we look at all ends about our post will actually come October 4th of this year. We will be 100 years old. Some days I wake up, I feel like I'm 100 years old. even though I'm only 21. But there'll be some snacks and some libation, because Legionnaires know how to do some libation, and we've got some slides to look at. And if the Bucks are playing, we have a big screen TV. So everybody's welcome down here from 1 to 4. If you can't find a place to park, across the street, the bank parking lot. So everybody is welcome.
Okay, Karen, you had your hand up?
I'd like to welcome Andy, and I would just like to say that if you are going to fill Mike Miller's spot, I have a gift for you.
I absolutely need cheaters, and my wife has a
Yo,
picture
are
of
for
me.
you.
I wear her pink ones in front of these, and it kind of drives her a little nuts, but I can see then, so I get it. I wouldn't be afraid to wear those.
Okay. Jerry, wear shorts.
Lovely.
Lou?
It's not happening.
Yeah.
Lou?
I got a chance to take a look at the Ladders facility on Saturday this past weekend. They're waiting on a couple of final documents before they open, but the open house on Friday, I think, had 400 people come through it. They did a great job getting that building ready. I'd like to thank the chief. They have the cameras that were requested. Security has been addressed, and I think they'll serve the community really well. And I had mentioned last time, I will continue to promote the Jump for Archie, which is coming up on May 15th down at the community center. This year's event has got a lot for a variety of different groups, from mental health awareness to drug prevention, and honoring those first responders who have provided their service in saving lives. So if you get a chance on May 15th, stop down there and participate, or at least take a look at what they have going on. And welcome Andy to the council, and it'll be a fun ride.
Go ahead.
I have two real quick things. Andy, welcome. Thank you. Our other District 3 alderman. This is something I requested that the city look into back during the budget cycle in October. I've been asking about it for years, and I ask again in the public forum that we look into our inspection services. Every year, we want to save money, like Alderman Ellis said, we need to look at that revenue. Every year since 2013, we've given away between $119,000 and almost $300,000 to an outside inspection service. That needs to get looked into. I've asked for it to get looked into several times. We were promised that that was going to get looked into, and I want it looked into and investigated. Otherwise, I'll start making requests for information and see where we go. So I'd like that done.
Matt, that's on, in the strategic plan update that I gave tonight. I didn't highlight it, but I did talk about it at the last one, that's on for the second quarter this year.
Okay. Hey, we've got to get it done, though, before the budget cycle.
Exactly.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Derek.
Welcome, Andy. Look forward to next, at least 1 year, I guess. But the other thing I'd like to mention is I think we didn't get to talk about it, but I think we should really consider, if they ever decide to put it on the agenda again, Thackeray Trail needs to be done as one project, or I wouldn't have been in favor of it the way it was. The other thing I'd like to echo Kevin's comments. I'd really like to talk about our engineering services, engineering, and how much money we spend, and the information that Mark provided us over the last few months at some point publicly. Thanks.
Any other comments? Seeing none, we need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.